Hi everyone. Today I am going to present the Análisis Literario of the book that is called 1984. My group is confirmed by Joan Daniel Moreno, Diego Andrés Santana, and me, Luna Maria Sanabria. Okay, let's introduce the work. In this slide, we are going to present the analysis of the book that the name is 1984. The author of this analysis is genre of the book. There are two. Okay, Julia. The physical aspect is she is 26 years old. She has a short and black hair. In this image, you can see the she has she has a short and black hair. However, in the mention in the chapter in the first 2 and 3, she know the this Julia because she mentioned she has a black hair. After chapter, the author mentioned what is the name of this chapter. She was like mechanician in the Ministry of the Truth, also wisdom, and she is optimistic. Identify. She is deceptive and enigmatic person. Her sexual appeal inspires the man actor to write, and she acts an analysis in wisdom's active rebellion. In this aspect, I mentioned the wisdom is active rebellion. Instead of Julia is not active rebellion. She acts an analysis. She acts in other point of view that wisdom. And other aspect that is important to mention is Julia enjoys sex and claims to have had affairs with many party members. Uh, it's important this aspect because in the book mentioned in different parts and know his thing and acts because he really she really enjoyed the sex with party members. And the next character important is O'Brien. I mentioned before that O'Brien is a person that lied all the time wisdom because he says that is another another part another party another political party that wisdom is. For this reason I say the physical aspect of Brian is he is 40 years old. He's powerful and cunning man. He's a burly man with a neck. He's a he he's a coarse face and always he wore black overall because he works in other government part in other government party. For this reason, he always wear the black overall. And identify. He enjoys privilege that wisdom doesn't have because he is an important member of the other party. For this reason, he has a privilege. For example, in the part of the the big brother, always you see O'Brien for moments turn off the televisors that other population has, and in one moment don't turn off this big brother can see all the time. And he has a barman that consists in help with the home chairs, another privilege. And he is a man who always lies to Winston. And the other character is Mr. Charrington. Uh, in the physical aspect, he's 60 years old. He's an old man who is jovial and window-wear. He's friendly and courteous. He wears glasses and is full of wrinkles and very crowded of eyebrows. And in the part of identify, he's a thrift store in the district of the Polores. In this part, he knows or the chapter is important because in in one chapter, Winston always the this visit this thrift store and rent one floor of this store, and Holly also rent one floor of this uh, up in up.
Now we are going to talk about the topic number 4, an outline of the work's plot and the main ideas presented in the piece. As outline of the work's plot, we have some key concepts illustrated in this sketch. Um, 1984 is occurred during a futurist world, where the main character is Winston Smith. Winston lives in a world in a country ruled by the party. The party is divided into the inside and the exterior one. The inside is governed by the 2% of the public population, and the exterior is ruled by the 13% of the population. The rest 85% of the population is just like normal people that the government didn't think that they have the capacities to wake up or make a rebellion. The older party is ruled by the Big Brother. No one knows who is the Big Brother, but his face appears in coins, also in some advices. In the party constantly keep an eye on all the population that works for the party. Winston works for the party in the Ministry of Communications. There, he rewrites some text to make the party look better than another type of government. Then we have Julia. Julia is a girl that appears in the text like 2 times before she, she appears constantly. Julia uh, established a sexual relationship with Winston. In that government, that type of relationships were prohibited, prohibited by the government. After all of this in sequence that they went to have sex to some different places, in the forest, in some chambers, or in some bedrooms, they were arrested by the government. Then the government brainwashed Winston and Julie. This changed them, and Winston finally loves the Greek brother and have no problem with him. Then we have as main ideas is at the head of the party is the figure of the Big Brother. is a main idea because we have to know who rules the world or who rules the country where Winston live. The second one is the novel's protagonist is Winston Smith, a member of the other party who works for the Ministry of the Truth. Also, this is important because we know more about Winston, where he works, what he do, and for who he works. Then we have in Oceania, relationships and sexual desire are prohibited. This maybe cannot sound like a main idea, but it is, because this is like the problem, the main problem that leads Winston and Julia to break their rules. And finally, we have Winston and Julia are tortured. They are brainwashed, in which they lose their individuality, respect, and sexual desire. This is a main idea because this shows us how the government can control people's desires, people's communication, what they do, what they think. This represents us how the government likes to have their population, in, like if there were slaves in chains and only they can see in one way. Finally, we have the topic number 5, review of the overall theme. Here, we see that we could identify as the theme of the book was a criticism to the totalitarist governments around the world. Also, during the book, George Orwell makes reference to Soviets and Nazis in order to assert some totalitarian governments that no longer exist. This due to these governments in 1945, that was the Second World War years. This book was published in 1949, 4 years after the end of the war. So these governments, during the time before the time the book was published, were very totalitarian. The people that lived in that countries or ruled by those governments can have a different.
So in this moment, in this video, I'm gonna approach certain topics. Those topics are propaganda. First of all, propaganda. Propaganda is something that we can see all throughout the novel. When we see Winston, which is he's the main character to the novel. We can see that he's being constantly harassed and force fed by messages and uh, posters and slogans and all these kinds of things that he's surrounded by. So this book, 1984, broaches the matter of propaganda because it's something that it's very innate, and it's something that it's very present in the socialist government that took place in the book. Needless to say that Winston is being the main character to this novel, to this book. Uh, he, uh, he doesn't agree. He doesn't agree with this propaganda because we can see that he's always trying to get away from it, and he's always trying to flee from it. So this is the reason why we can see that Winston, uh, it's against what's happening, and he always looks for a way to escape cameras and slogans and all the messages that are harassing, and that he's being surrounded by. When we talk about loyalty in 1984, we can see that it comes in two ways. We can talk about loyalty regarding the relationship between Winston and Julia, and we can talk about loyalty between not only Winston but all the people that live in the country, and Big Brother, which is the massive political party that took over. So first of all, we can see loyalty between and uh, Julia and Winston because they escape together, and they just go away. They try to have their moments and their time for them and nothing else. But we can see that just after they betray each other, Winston ends up by giving his total loyalty or confessing his total loyalty to the party. So does Julia. Manipulation is something that is very present in the novel every time because we can see that at the beginning, just after, well, not only after Winston betrays Julia, but all the time during the novel, that he Winston struggles to accept and to hold with what the government offers. But I'd say that at the point at the which we see the most of manipulation, it's when he's caught with Julia and he's sent to this room that the novel talks about. And well, there he's being constantly questioned and tortured, and he's being compelled to accept the ideas to the party, and they say that they wouldn't leave him alone until he accepts and loves the party willingly and not forcefully, like against his will, because the main idea and the biggest desire to the party was to make in a way that people would love the party blindly and completely. Doubting is another term that I decided to talk about in this moment because it's something that is very present in the novel as well. First of all, let me define doubting. So doubting is to preach or say one thing and do some other different thing, and that's something that is very present in each one of the ministries that we can see throughout the novel. For example, at Mini Truth, which is the ministry of the truth. Well, uh, as its name implies, it's supposed to convey the truth, but they do all the opposite. They're all about twisting the information and conveying lies and deceiving people to what's really happening, and destroying information and hiding things, and twisting also previous events in history. The Ministry of Peace, well, it's supposed to bring harmony and tranquility to the world, but again, they do all the opposite because they're uh, they're just promoting war, and they're just focused on bringing violence and evil and all these kinds of things. And finally, the Ministry of Love, which was the ministry in charge of uh, acting in a way or promoting love towards the party, which obviously was to be achieved by propaganda and by indoctrination in a way that people would love the party against their will. In this moment, I want to talk about Big Brother, which is the representation of the power and the surveillance capacity that. So, regarding the structure of 1984 by George Orwell, we can say that it is a linear narrative, which means that we experience Winston's experiences along with him. Like we'll read as it happens. The book, it's the well, we live the experiences, or we feel the experiences that Winston it's living as he lives them, aside from some flashbacks to past experiences and past events in his life. The book is divided in three parts, and each part it's divided by a certain number of chapters. The first part it's made up of 8 chapters. The second part it's made up of 9 chapters, and the third part is made up of 6 chapters. So over the first part, they begin to describe Winston's daily life and daily experiences. They talk about how what it feels like to be under a totalitarian regime, what it feels like, or what does he feel when trying to just get get hidden from the thought police and the people that are spying on him. But I'd say that the highlight over the first part it's the acquisition of the diary in which he writes all his feelings and his experiences. Over the second part, it talks about how he begins to conceive, or how he begins to plot a plan on how to overthrow the regime and how can he rebel against the regime, and he begins to consent or conceive the idea that the power and the freedom and the hope it's on the pros, which means the proletarian, which is other people like him, the people that live under the totalitarian regime. But I'd say that the highlight over the second part is his first encounter with Julia, which later on would become his couple for not too long, because this second part precisely ends up in them being caught during one of their romantic getaways. And over the third part, it begins with Winston at the Thought Police headquarters, while suffering tortures and pressure by the party, so he can love the party heartedly and willingly. So we just talked about the structure. Now we're gonna talk about the style. So George Orwell's style of writing it's rather simple and unadorned, because he's talking about a gloomy and sad and depressing environment which is living under a totalitarian regime. So he'd rather be straightforward. He'd rather be straightforward with his thoughts and what he's writing. He also preferred to resort to short sentences rather than long sentences, and he'd rather not make it he wouldn't rather make it complicated to the reader by using long or shady or complicated or unknown words, but he'd rather use simple words. He would also